$325 million well spent. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. You got me, I'm Peter Apple, and that's Aram Layton, and we are here to go over Game 2 of the World Series, an absolute domination show from Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Dodgers win 5-1. I got to be honest, yesterday I was talking up the Blue Jays. I got nervous, Aram. You know I got these Dodger futures, but at the same time, watching the Blue Jays win the way they did, just such a commanding win from them, I was thinking to myself, hey, we ain't counting the Blue Jays out yet. And of course, now we got a tied up series, 1-1. Anything could happen. We're obviously going to break it down. And it's all brought to us by the sportsbook born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. Just remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. And if you bet on those Blue Jays, you got some bonus bets. That's my running gag now, is just to use the ad read to shit on the loser of this series. I don't know if people like it, but I keep doing it.
Well, we also got a comment from Jared Cole in the live stream right now. Tell Jack I'm good. I don't need the life insurance ad read now. So I love that one too. But no, I mean, you mentioned like the way the first game went, right? And like, just, of course, a lot of teams that punch in the mouth can maybe stagger you, but you knew for two reasons it wasn't going to stagger the Dodgers. One, because it's a lineup and team just full of guys that have been there, done that, and just don't seem very phased. And two, you've got an ace coming in here to grab the ball in game 2 and do ace shit. And that's exactly what we just saw from Yamamoto. Like when you need to turn the tides, hand the ball to a guy that can just shut down. Again, this was the best lineup in the postseason this year. This has been one of the best lineup. It's the best lineup in the second half. And they come out in game 1 and couldn't have looked any better offensively. And you just make them look completely different in a matter of just a snap of the fingers. And his worst inning was the first inning. And I think that's the craziest part. The worst inning was the first, and he just continuously shoved from that point onward. So I think the most impressive part is the fact that Yamamoto pretty much settled in and shut down what I think is, the toughest lineup to get right now to slow down, and did it, I think, with such a mastery of pitching, with the mixture of offerings. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later, but this was just ace shit. And that's exactly what Yamamoto did.
Ace shit. Let's recap the game, and then we have a ton of things to talk about here. So again, Dodgers win the game 5-1, and they got it going early as Freddie Freeman took a Kevin Gausman splitter down the right field line for a double, and then Will Smith drove him home for the game's first run. 1-0 Dodgers after the first inning. But the Blue Jays would answer back in the third as George Springer got hit up and in on the first pitch. He's got to be so pissed. He's so done with these up and in pitches. And it happened multiple times in this game. He's already gotten hit multiple times. But then Vladdy sent him home. He didn't. He ripped a 114-mile-an-hour single on a ball in on his hands. Before we just continue, I tweeted out how many players in the world could hit a ball 114 miles an hour on that pitch. It was a good pitch by Yamamoto. In on his hands. That's where you want to get it in on Vladdy. And not only did he somehow make contact, he elevated it. I'm thinking about Aaron Judge. I'm thinking about Shohei Ohtani.
He hit it too hard. He actually hit it too hard. He's stuck at first. It's freak stuff there.
Then Kirk brought the Jays' first run home on a sac fly, and we got a tie ball game, and both pitchers just completely settled in. Yamamoto and Gausman combined for 27 straight outs. Gausman retired 17 straight before Will Smith stepped up in the 7th and broke the tie with a clutch home run. And then one batter later, Max Muncy did the same, and Gausman's night was over, throwing 6 2/3 with 3 runs allowed. But that stat line just doesn't do him justice. He was fantastic with both the fastball and the splitter. I'm excited to talk about him in a bit. And in the 8th, Dodgers loaded the bases against Louis Varland, and then John Schneider went to the bullpen, bringing in Jeff Hoffman, and he definitely hit Freddie Freeman on the foot. But it was that was a pass ball. I love Freddie. He didn't even react. He was like, I'm not giving up this AB. But after going down 2-0 in the count, they ended up putting him on. But of course, a run did score there Will Smith would then ground another one to short. And instead of going home with it, Jimenez goes to second. They aren't able to grab that double play, scoring the 5th run for LA. Aram, not a ball out of the infield from the 4th inning to the 2nd out in the 9th for Yamamoto, retired 20 straight to end it. And I know you have the numbers.
I mean, I'm just looking at the pitch usage because I was trying to think about it. I always like so when I'm trying to analyze a pitcher, I think, okay, well, if I'm a hitter in the box, like, is there a way that I can try to like eliminate an offering or focus on a zone and like try to make my life a little bit easier? Like when you're game planning, what can you do maybe to make things just a little bit less difficult? I don't know what the hell you do with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And I think you could tell that hitters didn't either by some of the called third strikes. Like when he flipped a couple curveballs in for called third strikes, I'm trying to remember. I think one was against Barger or Varsho, where they're just it was like I couldn't even prepare for that pitch. You spotted it. I tipped the cap, strike 3, and like those just got you looking type of strike 3s are I think a testament with Yamamoto, especially that he just puts your brain in a blender, right? Because I mean, you look at the usage. It's 32% splitter in this one, 24% four-seamer, 22% curveball, 12% cutter, 6% slider, and 4% sinker. And it's like he can basically mix and match whatever, whenever, and he'll give you different looks every AB. What's your approach, Peter? Like, what do you do against Yamamoto? Like, how do you prepare yourself? Say, okay, I'm not going to let X or Y beat me. You can't, because he can beat you with X, Y, Z, W. He can beat you in so many different ways.
And I guess the way that I would respond to that is, you even said it at the beginning, like almost go quadrant hunting, where it's like, all right, I'm just going to sit pitches down in the zone, whether it be that splitter, whether it be that loopy curveball, or when he spots that sinker or that four-seamer right at the bottom of the zone, that's where I'd sit. But there's so many different speeds to worry about. So it's easy to say, it's easy for me to sit right here. Oh, just sit on that low pitch. First of all, what if he's throwing you up in the zone? Then you're just screwed. But even if you sit on that lower quadrant, you got to deal with 97. You got to deal with 92 mile an hour splitters that look exactly like that same 97 mile an hour fastball. And he's got 2 variations of that 97. Yep. One is diving in, one is staying true, and then the curveball or the slider. So you got like 5 different pitches moving completely different directions in that quadrant. And that would be that's the way I would do it.
Yeah.
Which is impossible.
It basically, you have to, and I think it's like where Springer had some success, and I think obviously Vladdy put a good swing on the ball. It's like you hunt a quadrant, and if you're sitting, you got to sit heater, and you don't miss it when you get it. But to your point about the speeds, that was going to be the first thing I said, is like, I think that's what you do. But okay, then he locates 97 at the knees, or you foul that off, and then you're like, okay, I'm hunting still something bottom of the zone, and then he snaps off that 92 mile per hour splitter that starts right at the same spot. And there's nothing that you can do other than roll over because it ends up at your shins. And I think that's why you saw nobody really hit the ball out of the infield after that. So it's just such a difficult at bat. And I think we saw that. It also is part of the reason why I'm like, geez, Springer's on another level right now, with the swing that he put on there and just the ABs that he's had. Also, quick note, Yamamoto kind of giving a quick little apology to George Springer after, he went up and in on him. I think kind of knowing that it's been a rough go for him in terms of getting drilled. I always think it's funny. Like I can understand the competitor and like the competitive nature and stuff like that. But especially in the regular season, when guys like drill a dude in like the neck or like in a really brutal spot and just pretend that it didn't even matter, they didn't do it, just a little nod. I don't know. Again, people probably call me soft for that, but
no,
I would just always be like, yo, like my bad.
You know why you're
never see it.
You know why you're not soft? I mean, the first thing that came to my brain, and maybe this isn't the best example because it was, horrible when it happened, but when Tarek Skubal went up and in and got David Fry, like you saw his reaction. It's almost like it's a very human reaction versus, who cares?
Like, oh, who cares? Whatever.
Get in the box. Like you don't get brownie points for that.
I'm pissed I missed my spot. But, that's what, I love about, watching Japanese players play and just like the way that they carry themselves. But beyond that, I mean, I thought a lot of these at-bats weren't bad from the Blue Jays. It wasn't like they were giving them away. There was battles. They hit the ball hard. They had first and third with one out a couple different times for the middle of the order. And they just couldn't, manufacture anything because of how good, Yamamoto was. He was a escape artist because that's where you saw him lock in and execute. So, I mean, I thought the Blue Jays, again, had some good ABs, put themselves in decent spots. But when an ace is doing ace stuff and he's able to locate 6 different pitches, I mean, that's where you're going to have a hard time pushing those runs across. And it's exactly what happened here. And it's tough because you say, oh, well, maybe they could drive his pitch count up because they did in that first inning. But you can't risk that because he's dotting, and the way that he's, operating there, you don't want to miss the one fastball you may get. So if you're trying to work deep into a count, I don't think that works in your favor with a guy like Yamamoto. You're hoping that you can hit the one pitch that you get a shot at. Didn't walk anybody. He was completely in control of the zone. It's 8 Ks, no walks. I'm not going to wait for a deeper count with a guy like that. I'm going to just try to hit the one pitch I can see. And because of that, that's why Yamamoto was able to curtail what was, I think, a 20-something pitch first inning to end up only throwing 105 pitches here in a complete game, his second of the postseason.
23 pitches in the first inning and finished with 105. So 82 pitches through 8 for the rest of them. And I couldn't agree with you more. This wasn't, oh, Blue Jays, what are you doing? You're giving up ABs. This is not the edge. This is not the momentum that they've played with. No, they just ran into a brick wall. And sometimes that's what's been happening to most teams against the Dodgers. I actually thought, even in the first inning, when his stuff looked phenomenal, the fact that the Blue Jays were fighting, I thought to myself, oh no, doesn't really matter what the Dodgers are throwing at this point. This Blue Jays team is going to hit anybody. But the stuff was so damn good that no matter what the Jays tried to do, this was Yamamoto's game. I thought it was more impressive than the 9-inning complete game that he just threw against the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, I thought sometimes the Brewers are putting bad swings on some baseballs. Again, he looked phenomenal. We're splitting hairs. It's like perfect versus more perfect. So it's more just having fun comparing them. But I watched every out, every pitch of both of them, and I thought this was the best Yamamoto has looked. And I actually think it was great the Blue Jays scored. Like, that's how good he looked. I thought it was a great effort. The fact that they put up 1 run, that was all Yamamoto.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, like, opposite, if you told me before the ball game, hey, you're going to get 6 2/3 innings from Kevin Gausman. He's not going to walk anybody. He's going to strike out 6. Even if you told me 3 earned, I'd be like, okay, that's great. I think they're going to be in a pretty good spot there. It was a great outing from Gausman. It's just a couple really good swings late there. And I don't think you can blame the Blue Jays for keeping him in there. The pitch count was so economical for Gausman. The bullpen's not great.
He retired 17 straight up until that Will Smith home run. Like, why would you take him out? Do you want the Dodgers to see your bullpen arms more and more and more? Because that's a big thing for these managers in the series. You don't want, like, for example, Seranthony Dominguez looked great. Mason Fluharty looked great. But he didn't go back to them. He went to Hoffman, and he went to
Varland.
He went to who? Sorry, my mind's blanking.
Varland and Fisher.
Varland and Fisher. I mean, Fisher has now pitched twice, but he's more mop-up duty action.
Yeah, exactly.
They went to 2 different guys because you don't want the Dodgers seeing the same guys over and over again. So I didn't think John Schneider managed this game poorly at all. What's he supposed to do? How do you manage out of a Yamamoto dominant start? What do you do? You just got to let Gausman go so you can at least save those bullpen arms. And you did all that you could. 1 run was not going to win that game. That's just the bottom line.
Yep. Yeah. And again, Gausman did his best, put together his best effort. And honestly, I hope the next time, for the Blue Jays' sake, next time Varland goes out there and Hoffman, it looks a little bit sharper because both of them did not look very good in this one, especially, Varland, I think walked 1, gave up 2 hits, and then Hoffman came in to try to clean it up and just spikes it, and I understand that hit, the other pitch hit Freddie. I think it's one of the more badass things to not want the base. Like, that's something that I would only have the balls to do in men's league softball. Like, don't give me the walk. I want to hit. Yeah. And he's doing that in the World Series. He's saying, no, the run already counted. Let me still hit so I can drive in another. That is just some ridiculous stuff there from Freddie. But, I think it's good. Maybe they got the jitters out now, and you hope that Varland and Hoffman can bounce back. But I would say that's the only clear negative for me if I'm looking at the Blue Jay side is get the bats.
What can
They
you
hit
do?
the ball pretty hard still, even then
Yeah.
too. Like there was good at bats. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think you're going to run into anybody throwing as well in this. I think a lot of guys are going to still throw really well. I
Maybe
think it's very
Yamamoto
difficult
again.
for anybody to match this Yamamoto outing. But
Maybe him again.
yeah, literally just him again,
Just him
maybe.
again, yes.
And at least at that point, you're seeing him a second time. But to all the things we just said, I still don't think that helps very much with him. He's not a guy that I think you get more comfortable against the
No.
more you see him. It is what it is. But I think the most concerning part for me was probably their two most important relievers. You throw Anthony Dominguez in there as well, but Varland and Hoffman just looked really rough in this one.
Yeah. You talked about Yamamoto's usage. I want to talk about Gosman's for a second because I talked about it at the beginning when we were previewing that the combination of Gosman and Savage, they could pitch well, but the Dodgers in the regular season owned that mix. They were the number one offense in baseball against righties with fastballs, splitters, and sliders. And in game one, Trey Savage, only 13.6% of his pitches were splitters. It's about cut in half the usage of what he normally does, which I thought was interesting, right? You're facing a lot of righties. Generally, splitters are much better against lefties. We saw what that splitter looked like against the Yankees, and we saw what it looked like against the Mariners as well in his better start. And then in this one, he kind of went away from it and was still moderately effective. I thought the Dodgers should have put up more runs on him, but credit to him for bearing down and getting those outs when he needed to. And then in this start, I thought to myself, Dodgers have seen Gosman a lot. Are we going to see a lot less splitters? And then is that going to work? But Gosman said, screw you. This is my pitch. If you're going to beat me, you better beat me with my best stuff. And it was almost 50-50 fastballs and splitters.
Yeah.
And what I also noticed during that 17 out run where he was dominating the Dodgers, they were missing middle fastballs.
I was going to say he was challenging them with the heater. Almost, I would say beyond challenging, kind of missing at points, a little bit over the heart.
And two schools of thought there. One, the Dodgers offense really hasn't been great in the postseason. The reason they're here is how unbelievable their pitching staff has been.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at the scores, a lot of 4-2, 5-2 games. You have that one where Ohtani hit 3 home runs, but even in that game, they scored only 5 runs. In the first game, they put up 4, but 2 of those came late on an Ohtani garbage time home run. Yeah. And then in this game, they put up 5. Offense still didn't look that great. But Gosman just went out there, and so that's a part of it. Like, they're missing middle fastballs. I feel like that's indicative of their performance so far. The offense hasn't really come to play. But on the other side, you're just waiting for that splitter, and it's in the back of your mind the whole time. So the fastball, even though it's 93 to 95 miles an hour, it just must fly on you. And even in the middle of the zone, these guys were popping it up too. It wasn't that they were missing middle fastballs and lining it out or hitting a ton of warning track flyouts. They had a few, but there was a lot of middle fastballs that ended up in weak pop outs on the infield. And that's credit to Gosman and shows how good his splitter is even against a team like the Dodgers.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting too to build on that, like approach wise. 17 called strikes on the fastball from Gosman. It's like
a lot of
takes, and I'm not sure why. Maybe they weren't expecting him to challenge that much with the fastball, and he did. I think it almost put him on their heels a little bit. But see, this is what an elite lineup does, right? And I think it was Hembo called it, right? Like Hembo said he thinks the way it matches up that Muncy's going to have a pretty nice series, and there it is where Muncy has that big home run swing.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
I also called it. He was my dark horse MVP. Just saying.
Okay.
Before that came out. And I love Hembo. We're having him on the pod tomorrow, and we're going to chop it up about it. But what I will say is, I did say on our preview, Max Muncy, dark horse World Series MVP 30-1. I gotta hang my hat on stuff because I'm 0-2 on my bet so far in the World Series in game 1 and game 2. So I got to celebrate something on him.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's funny, like that's just when you have guys like that in the lineup, like it's so much talent in there. They're gonna break through at some point with a couple big swings, and that's what you saw there with a couple huge ones. And that was pretty much. It felt like once the second home run went over the wall, that's where it just kind of felt like, okay, this might as well be a 10-run deficit, right? Once you got an extra run cushion there, from Muncy. It just felt like, how are they going to come back from this? And then of course they tack on a couple more, and then that might as well have been the same deficit as yesterday's game. But that was what really I think it just hammered it home, where it's this lineup, man. Even when you say, oh man, when are they going to get going? When are they going to get going? You have this eerie feeling in the back of your mind. I think if you're playing against them, that they're going to. Someone in that lineup will, and that's exactly what happened. Between Smith and Max Muncy. Smith, by the way, there was one swing in particular, because you talked about the Gosman usage. Smith had the RBI single in the first on a slider.
Yep.
And it was like a slider that broke a lot. It's like, that's not even a pitch he was prepared for, right? It's not even a pitch you're thinking about. And Will Smith is just so good bat to ball wise and just such a good hitter that he stays on that pitch and he hits it hard back up the middle. And that's a guy that was the swing, not really the home run swing. That was the swing where I know that's a pitch he's not even remotely thinking about. And he puts a great swing on it, breaking away from him off the plate. That's a guy that's seeing the ball really well and settled back in from that injury and whatever. And I think that is a really interesting wrinkle, because we talk about Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, of course. But when you've got Will Smith swinging it, when you remember, like, there were stretches this year where he was swinging it as well as anybody in the sport. When you got that version of Will Smith as well, all of a sudden, I think it's really tough trying to figure out how you're going to maneuver this lineup.
It's such a good point about that swing. Hopefully can get him going, because Gosman only threw 4 sliders all night. To your point about there's no way you're even thinking about that pitch. And then he gets that first home run. All of his hits so far in the postseason have been singles. Like, we know Will Smith as the big time power bat. Of course, he's such a good hitter, so he can rip singles. He can rip doubles in the gap. Like, he's just an all around great hitter. But Will Smith delivers in the postseason when it comes to the long ball. And that was the first one of this postseason so far. Another cool Will Smith stat that our fantastic Twitter team put out. Will Smith has 35 RBIs in his postseason career. That ranks 4th all time behind in terms of catchers in postseason history. Yadier Molina has 36. Yogi Berra has 39. Jorge Posada has 42. Will Smith is 30 years old. And you'd assume the Dodgers are going to keep making the playoffs. He's going to crush Posada's all-time record at 42. I mean, he's 7 away right now. I don't think he's going to end this postseason by beating it, but I don't think any of us would be surprised if he's number 2. I think that's really cool. There have been incredible catchers throughout MLB history, and for him already to be number 4 in RBIs. Now, of course, it helps when the guys in front of you are Shohei and Mookie and Freddie, but it's still really, really cool.
Oh, absolutely. And you still got to do it in the postseason. And I think it's just reminiscent of that Astros team too, where like by the time the dynasty run is over, whether they win all the World Series or not, and we'll see how this all goes, but by the time their like repetitive deep postseason run stretch is over, if it ever ends, all of these guys, even though they're like 30, 31, 32 years old, they're all amongst the all-time leaders, in these postseason stats, like Correa and Altuve and things like that as well. And of course, Springer, who's now adding to his resume continuously as well. Did we mention the other stat from our Twitter team that was absolutely ridiculous in terms of the only pitchers in Dodgers history with 2 complete games in a single postseason?
We haven't. But one thing I also want to say, too, about some of these offensive stats, I do know that, of course, baseball changed their postseason rules. So now there's more games than ever. Not that long ago, I forget exactly. I can actually just Google it right now as after I say it. But most teams, or in the playoffs, it used to be you win your league and you go to the World Series. There was no
exactly.
even ALCS or DS or any of that kind of stuff. So a lot of these records that are being broken have to do with just playing a lot more games, but I still think it's really cool. But fire off that stat. I'm going to look about when MLB
what year that happened. Yeah. Because I remember when we saw the Willie Mays documentary too, we were like, oh, I didn't even fully realize that. Like the structure was so different. But the only pitchers in Dodgers history with 2 complete games in a single postseason, 88 Hershiser had 3, and Yamamoto now has 2. Yamamoto, I mean, honestly, if you asked me that before, I would have said that Hershiser record would stand, and I still think it will stand maybe the test of time. for the like it's so hard nowadays in the postseason, especially like we just talked about it. Like good pitchers are getting pulled in the 4th and the 5th. Like, do you know how dominant you have to be and how much respect you have to have from your manager to even get a chance to go CG? And Yamamoto's done it twice. He's probably gonna have one more shot to do it. That's probably a record though. If Yamamoto doesn't do it this year and then at some point in his career, I don't know. Like it seems almost impossible nowadays for someone to be able to do that. And I know this is just a Dodgers organization record, but I mean, it's just, I think context is important because, as you mentioned, kind of similar to the playoff conversation, how many games he used to play, like you got to kind of apply it to what's going on in that era and in this current situation, in the structure of how kind of games are played now. And I think given the way that the game is played now and handled, it makes the fact that Yamamoto has 2 complete games in the same postseason even more ridiculously outrageous. And I know some of that probably has to do with the bullpen not being as good as it normally is. I think they could have every single bullpen arm that they've had in the last 5 years that have been at the top of their, at the top of their list on this year's team. And you're still letting Yoshi go the distance, those 2 outings. Like that's how dominant he's been. It's just rare to see. And I love it. It's fun. It's refreshing. And I'm sure the old heads love it as well.
Yeah, and Yamamoto did it too against 2 completely different approaches, both from the Brewers and the Blue Jays, and both were on the road.
Yeah.
Like, the first one came in Milwaukee against a team that ranked number 1 in chase rate, the good kind. They never chase outside the zone in the Milwaukee Brewers, and they see some of the most pitches per plate appearance of any team in baseball. They rank 4th. So it's a team that is very patient, doesn't go outside the zone. It's tough to get them. And then on the other side, the Blue Jays, free swingers, top 10 in chase rate, the bad kind, but that just works into their approach. They're an aggressive offense, and there's a lot of good bad ball hitters in the lineup. I'm thinking about Bo Bichette. I'm thinking about Alejandro Kirk, and I'm definitely thinking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., among others, right? So you got 2 different approaches, both on the road, and you were able to carve through both of them and be uber efficient in both of them as well.
Good point.
With different stuff working. Just to go back to the postseason rules. So 1969, the creation of divisions led to the ALCS and NLCS with division winners meeting in the championship series. Then in 1995, expanded to include a wild card team in addition to the 3 division winners. And then in 2012, second wild card spot was added in each league. And then in 2022, format expanded to 12 teams, 6 per league, with 3 wild card spots each. So especially since 2022, we're getting a lot more postseason games. So it's going to be a lot easier for these guys to break records. So it'd be cool to see then in another 20 years, once I assume we have the same postseason rules. They're definitely not adding more. They would only take them away. I assume they'd keep it the same way, and then we'll really see how those records stack up. So for a lot of those older records, like, for example, Yogi Berra to have that many RBIs when he's mostly just going straight to the World Series is unbelievable. But still, credit to Will Smith. Just always driving in runs in the playoffs. You got anything else on this series? It was good to see Max Muncy get a big-time home run as well. We kind of already talked about that. What else have we not talked about?
I mean, I'm trying to think from specifically this game, man. I don't want to sound any alarms, but it was a really bad game from Teoscar. So I'm interested to see how he bounces back from that. Like 4 punchies, just didn't look comfortable at all.
Didn't look in the first game either.
Yeah, like it just hasn't been great at bats. And I think they've been pitching to him a lot of breaking balls down, or at least like splitters down, just soft stuff down, and it's been seemingly affecting him. But that's just something that I'm interested to monitor, right? He's sitting in the 5 spot, and maybe they adjust the lineup a little bit there. Probably good for, Page's hit 3 balls hard, because he's just been brutal this postseason, had a hit as well. So like that's a guy that gets going a little bit for them. I think that's absolutely huge. I'm also very fascinated by the usage of Bo Bichette here because, I imagine they didn't want to play him in back-to-back starts. Like what he's dealing with right now, I'm sure you guys talked about it, but like that play that he made at second base in game 1 on one knee, you could see the discomfort, right? Like you could just see how it did not feel good. And I think that makes it even, all the more impressive, but it also is a reminder of like, hey, this guy, he's playing because it's the freaking World Series. But like, if there were more games after this one, like if this was the championship series right now, I still think he's out. Like, I still think he's not playing. I think it literally is because there's no more games after this. Like, even the additional week, I don't think has helped him that much. He still doesn't look very comfortable. And remember, in the championship series, he shut it down, running the bases, just didn't feel good. So like, he is playing through a lot right now, and he pinch hit late. Is it because they didn't want to start him in back-to-back games, especially with back-to-back days, knowing that you're going to have a day off here? Like, I expect him to potentially get the start in the next game, but then as you play again after that, like, I'm just fascinated by those wrinkles. And he put a good swing on a ball. Like, he looked good, obviously, and he has looked pretty good in his at-bats since coming back. So I don't know, like, do you risk running him into the ground? Like, it's also admirable for him. I know it's the World Series, but like, I just saw, I think a Jeff Passan article about like what he's expecting for some of these contracts, and it was 250 plus million that could be on the table for Bo Bichette, like 200 plus million at least. I think that a lot of people are starting to speculate based on his age, performance, whatever. Regardless, let's say it's 150, whatever it may be.
Wait a minute, that still hasn't settled with me.
I saw somebody tweet it that it was in Jeff Passan's article. So
but to be real. That. I've said it so many times, and I'm even doing it right now. Stop getting surprised by these contracts.
Like,
they're gonna be way more than you think the guy is worth. And I think the world of Bo Bichette. I have been Bo Bichette supporter even when he had that down year. Right, I was the only one
being like, he's
still, he's my guy. I've just always thought he was a special hitter, but the defense has been so poor. And if you don't think that he can play shortstop and maybe he is more of a second baseman in the future, $250 million for him.
Yeah,
like, damn.
I'm just confirming. This is what Passan referenced the Bogarts contract, which is kind of ironic. And said, it could be anywhere like within that realm because of his age too, right? He's not going to be 28 until March, so he'll be the youngest. And it's all about being on the. I remember talking to a couple agents. I'm like, what do you think the biggest factor, is that for these contracts other than the obvious, performance, just being on the right side of 30. And I think that's always an interesting, like how much of a difference that makes for these teams. But my point being, like, and I get it, it's the World Series. A lot of guys will do the same thing, but it is admirable. Like, he's got 200 plus million waiting for him on the other side here, and he's pushing through it. But at the same time, you don't want to risk really, really hurting him, catastrophically, and potentially putting the team in a weird spot there where that would be just I think that would really hurt the team, if he goes down with something. So I think they're being careful, and it's just how do you navigate that, right? Like, how do you navigate being careful but also desperate? And like, if you lose the next game, like, and you really need the offense, and IKF's not really hitting much, like, how much do you push him? I know he's going to want to go play, but again, you don't want to put him in a spot where then if he gets hurt, that really just will probably feel like the final nail in the coffin. So I'm just very I don't have much like analysis. I'm just fascinated by how they're going to handle this. How much do they push him? How much does he play? And how did he respond after that's playing at second base there? Like, do they want to do that again? I think there's a lot to just kind of sift through and figure out. And I'm sure it's very day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. But Bo Bichette's bat quite clearly is one that can alter this series for the Blue Jays. And it's just a very tough spot to be for both Bo and the team in terms of how much you want to push him here.
And his bat can alter the series. And that's why they need him in the lineup. Because when you see these pitchers that the Dodgers are putting out, you need your best guys in. And I'm curious if you agree with this from watching him. It seems like he looks his best at the plate, but running the bases is clearly difficult. And then fielding his position is difficult. So
I agree.
I'm sure
he looks okay in the swings don't look too uncomfortable. I thought the first game that Springer came back from the bruise when he was swinging,
worse.
You could see he was like, ow.
Yes.
But it's a bruise, so it got better quickly. But I don't see it too much with Bichette when he's letting it rip. It doesn't seem like it's like, ow, when he's swinging. Everything else, it does look like it doesn't feel good.
I mean, they pinch ran for him in game 1, too, in like the 6th inning. That was early. I think that's how much this is really hurting him, too, because not only did he not get the start, he didn't even play the entirety of game 1. So is it another one of those where he's starting game 3, but then he's getting taken out in the
Yeah.
sixth kind of every time.
And
Is
then,
that how
when
they
you
manage
pull
it?
him, that's the other
When
really
you
tough
pull him.
situation for Schneider. Tie game, or you're behind by 1, and it's the 6th inning. Important run, but he may hit again. And you pull him, you pinch run IKF for safety reasons and because he can actually run. But now you're tied in the 9th, and Bo Bichette's 2 up, but you got IKF at the plate. Like, those are the other really tough spots as well. Would you rather Bo Bichette jog around the bases and have him for sure hit one more time, or put the faster guy in who can run full speed and play better defense, but may have to come up in a big spot in the 9th? Like, this just creates, I don't envy the decisions that managers have to make. And then this is just another really difficult variable for Schneider that he has to maneuver.
Couldn't agree with you more. I do not envy these two managers, but it's also got to be easy to manage the bullpen when you're Dave Roberts and Yoshinobu Yamamoto gives you 9 scoreless. So on tomorrow's episode, I'm joined by Paul Hebekaitis from ESPN. We're going to do a Game 3 preview, and we're also going to look at some World Series history. Hembo's History Corner is coming back to the Just Baseball show. Can't wait to record with him tomorrow. So we'll save a lot of the analysis for Game 3, but I do want to talk about it a little bit, maybe just a few minutes, kind of get your vibes on the series so far, and any thoughts on Game 3. Arm, I'm trying to find the whoosh. Let me get a whoosh. Where's the whoosh? All right, Arm, Game 3.
Found it.
All right, no more whooshes. We're back. We're actually back. No more whooshes. Game 3 thoughts.
I mean, I think this series is just so wonderfully unpredictable that I don't have, any bold prediction or whatever. I think we're just going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of runs. I just that's I guess my one call there is I think it is a little bit of a pitching mismatch in this one, because we got Glasnow, Scherzer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Glasnow is the one guy that is maybe most susceptible to not going too deep into this game. And if you can get Glasnow out, dream is, if Glasnow could go 5 2/3, 8 strikeouts, 1 run, and he get, but it's
Dodgers
not efficient.
Win, then. Dodgers win.
Maybe.
No, Scherzer, I love Scherzer, and I don't want to bet against him. Scherzer, after that legacy performance, I'm sorry.
I agree.
I feel the most confident they will hit Scherzer over any of the pitchers in this series. I feel, especially in Dodger Stadium, then behind their crowd, that feels like the game that they get going, regardless of the pitcher. And then you just happen to have Max Scherzer coming in. And then the Blue Jays bullpen, if he doesn't go very long, which can be effective. Fluharty looked great. Dominguez looked great, but Varland didn't. Hoffman didn't. I think they're going to have to cover a lot of innings. Maybe that's more Bassett. Maybe it's Lauer. Maybe Schneider gets, more creative there. Maybe it's Scherzer one time through, then Lauer, then Bassett. Not sure how they do it. They can be strategic there. But I'm telling you, if it's Scherzer for the start, if he's we're going 2 times through, this is your outing, I think they're done. I think they have to do a 1 time through, then Lauer, then Bassett, or whoever they want to manage that.
And I kind of like that, though, because again, I like the way that both those guys have thrown the ball. I just think if you can get Glasnow out before the 6th inning or early in the 6th, before the 7th inning, I'm very interested to see how this bullpen, does. I think that's still a really important wrinkle in this thing, especially with no Vesia, and way more important things, obviously, for Vesia. And don't know exactly the details, but very much thinking about his family there, and hopefully everything's okay. But not having him in the bullpen there as well, it feels really, really thin. And I'm just interested, if you have to go to several different arms, I think with the way the Blue Jays are swinging it right now. I know they just got shut down by Yamamoto. I think that's more of a testament to Yamamoto, as we talked about.
I'm giving them a pass.
Look at what they did after Snell came out of Game 1. They didn't strike out, right? I'm pretty sure they
I
did
don't
not
think
punch
so,
one.
and they put up the most runs in an inning since the 1968 Tigers. I agree with you. I still think they're swinging it well, even though they got shut out, or not shut out. They scored 1 run in 9 innings against Yamamoto, but I'm giving them a pass. That was one of the best pitchers in the world pitching at the peak of his powers. Tip your cap.
So that's where I think there's going to be runs scored, though. Even if they don't totally get to Glass now, I think they're going to be able to get him out of that game, and within reason. I think that however they structure this in Toronto with the Jays, it's not going to be the most lights out group, let's say. And I think back home, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the Dodgers are going to swing it. I just think you're going to see the Jays swing it a little bit too. So, and I hope, because it's more fun to watch. I think it'll be like, this was a blast to watch. I like all different types of ball games, but I'd love to see another, kind of offensive onslaught, but more back and forth here. And I think that's what we get here in this game 3.
So I'm going back and forth. Actually, I'm going to save my analysis because I'll be on with Paul Hembakaitis again from ESPN tomorrow to really flesh out all of our game 3 thoughts. I just really wanted to get your perspective. So you have a feeling there's going to be a lot of runs scored. You feel like Dodgers have the edge there. Picking a winner is impossible, really, because especially if the starters, like let's say a combination of Bassett, Lauer, and Scherzer matches Glass now, then we have no idea who's going to win. I lead just towards the home team because they get to hit last. That's why I said in game 2, I was like, the Blue Jays have a good shot of winning, because I was like, I think Gausman's going to pitch pretty well. I think Yamamoto's going to pitch pretty well. And if it's a match, I'm going with the home team. The thing is, they matched for a while. They hung in for a while, but then the 2 runs against Gausman late, and then Yamamoto did his thing. So they didn't really match. But that was kind of the feeling. As long as both starters, or whatever combinations of starters, can go 6, same amount of runs, I just go towards the home team, which would be the Dodgers. So that's kind of where I'm at. But it's so close.
I tend to agree. I just think maybe the game gets so sloppy that, not sloppy is probably the right, but it just gets so offensively driven that it just can be chaos and just the bigger swing wins. But I'm with you. I think all the same concerns kind of echoed with the Blue Jays. And when you got to go through a game where you're going with a lot of different guys, it's going to be difficult. But I think we may see kind of like the A team here, bullpen wise, where hopefully you get a better outing from Varland, and and if you're the Blue Jays, you're hoping for a better outing, from Hoffman or whatever it may be. Everyone that listens to the show knows I just need one more win from the Jays. I don't care if they get it game 3, game 5, whatever. Just send this thing to 6 for me. But I do feel like they got a decent shot here, just because I think it can be a slugfest, and a slugfest to me turns a little bit into a coin flip. But as you mentioned, home team, you get that last AB, the way they swing it at home. I think that a slugfest obviously skews into the favor of the Dodgers there, but anything can kind of happen if it is the slugfest that I think it's going to be.
So you have a last word, right?
Yes, I do.
But before we get there, I want to highlight this comment from our guy, Ray. My first time in the chat. I just discovered you guys. This show is awesome. Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you. Welcome.
For leaving that really nice comment. Welcome to the show. Again, this is the Just Baseball Show. We go live on YouTube after every single game in the postseason. And of course, we'll be doing it for the World Series. Tomorrow, we will not be live on YouTube. Going to record with Hembo over Zoom. Or maybe we might go live. Not sure yet. But just be on the lookout on YouTube. And before you go, if you have enjoyed the show so far, the best way to support this show for absolutely free, just smash the like button and comment down below what you like, what you didn't like. And of course, if you're listening after the fact on audio, best way to support, rate, review, 5 stars, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your shows. Again, thanks to everybody listening, but we have a last word. Aram, floor is yours.
Yeah, I think you're going to love this one, honestly. So I'm in Colombia right now visiting family, and it's been really, really, really nice. I've been able to see a lot of important people to me, but I've also been getting some unique tours and seeing some certain areas. And I found something out today that I think is one of the more interesting things I've ever heard, and it's actually quite wild. I've always been fascinated by invasive species, and just think it's really interesting, and how they can affect ecosystems, and what you can kind of do to manage that.
In Florida.
Yeah, because growing up
Yeah.
in South Florida, the pythons are a huge issue. And there's always a crazy origin story behind invasive species. So, for example, pythons in South Florida that are just destroying the ecosystem, those pythons, the leading kind of cause of it is there was a python breeding facility for whatever reason. I have no idea why the hell they had that in Miami. And Hurricane Andrew in the 80s, one of the worst hurricanes in the history of the state and the history of the U.S., ripped off the building and just ripped it apart, and all these pythons got free, and they reproduce as rapidly as any animal is really out there. And so now they're all over the place there. And so like they don't even know how to stop it. They can't slow it down. People get paid to euthanize them and capture them. I found an even crazier one. In Colombia, there's hippopotamuses. Hippopotamuses? I don't know what the plural is. Hippos. There's hippos.
Hippopotami.
Hippopotami?
No, I'm just kidding. That was
there's hippos. Do you know what? There's 200 plus hippos in Colombia. How does a hippo get to Colombia? Pablo Escobar had 4 African hippos in his estate because he was just so rich. He didn't know what the hell to do with his money. And so after he was killed on his property, they came and finally caught him and shut him down. It was just deserted. And he had this kind of like, I guess, like little like safari type of zoo. And they just left the hippos there. The hippos then escaped. And hippos apparently reproduce really quickly and really effectively. So now, can you imagine you live in just a like kind of suburb, like town in the mountains in Colombia, and you see a hippo? And now you don't just see one hippo. Now there's 200 plus. And they're invasive because they eat like 40 tons of grass. They're herbivores.
They're like huge and they're fast and they're mean. You watch like the Discovery Channel stuff and they talk about hippos like they're tigers on steroids, like they're water tigers times 5. These things are nightmares.
They can bite an alligator in half. And they are now eating so much grass, and then they eat like 40 tons. And then they poop it all. And so apparently like all the waste is actually making like the water like toxic for fish. And like, it's really like messing stuff up. So they tried to remove one and it cost like $100,000. So they're like, we can't do this. So they've been like castrating some, which is kind of sad, but like, it's no different, I guess, than what people do with dogs. Or like, the word castrate just makes it worse. They should like neuter.
They just so violent.
But that's expensive too. So they don't know what to do with these hippos. And like, you could just see hippos. So imagine like you're just driving your car and a hippo pops up and just levels your car. Like, does insurance cover that? I don't know. So you got 200 plus hippos in Colombia right now.
What a weird time to join the live stream. We're just talking about castrating hippos.
They don't know how to stop it. And it's really fascinating to me. And now they're multiplying. What do you do? There's going to be a shit ton of hippos here in Colombia. It's not a Colombian animal. They couldn't be further from it. I just think that's really crazy. And rich people need to stop just having exotic animals in their backyard because it makes them feel cool.
Hippos are... I'm trying to think of an animal I would least want to see in the wild over a hippo. Because you're not safe in water, and you're not safe in land because they're so damn fast.
And like they will legitimately one bite you.
And I think too, we can Google stuff later. I think they resulted in a lot of human deaths compared to other animals.
They kill more people in Africa every year than tigers, sharks, and like cheetah, like all of them combined.
How many more days you in Colombia? Get the hell out of there.
I want to see a hippo. I'm not near any hippos right now.
We haven't seen one yet. Oh, you got to see one.
Yeah, they're going to start making their way into Medellin over here. They're I'm here. I leave on Monday.
Okay.
I was hoping to see a hippo. Have not seen one yet. And they call them cocaine hippos. So I'm hoping to see, and they all just think about that. They all have like basically like originate from Pablo Escobar. Like they're all the lineage of Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos. So I just thought that was interesting. The last thing I'll say, Some experts estimate that there could be 1,000 hippos by 2035 if unaddressed. Some suggest even more.
Well, you're saying there's 200 right now. It could be 1,000 in 10 years?
Yep. What the hell do you do?
What do you do?
You got I don't know.
Unbelievable last word. I love the history. I love the animals.
Oh, wait, sorry, one more.
Go ahead.
They estimate that removing 70 hippos could cost $3.5 million.
Just a horrifying chore to do. Like, oh, what are you here to do for work? We got to clear out cocaine hippos.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing today. I'm clearing out Pablo Escobar's cocaine-riddled hippos. So that'll do it for this episode of the Just Baseball Show. Thank you to everybody joining us live on YouTube. And if you did enjoy the Game 2 breakdown, the Game 3 preview, and the hippopotamus last word, we kindly ask, smash the like button on YouTube before you go, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss another one of these live streams and any other videos that we put out on this channel. And if you are listening on audio, rate, review 5 stars. And if you can be so kind to leave a written review. If you want to join our Discord, just $5 for the week. You can join us for the rest of the World Series. If you got an Abraham Lincoln sitting around, you can find that link again in the episode description, or if you're watching on YouTube, in the description of this video. For Arm Layton, I am Peter Apple. We'll see you tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll be with Hembo. It's either going to be live on YouTube or it'll be posted on audio and then again on YouTube right after. But until then, with that, thank you, everybody.